pretty nice. I mean, we got to go over the monthly time from here real quick. Although we know kind of what we have going on because we did the same thing yesterday, but just a refresher, chat. There is some type of resistance here at the top of the range at 2000. There also is some type of support over here to the left hand side, right down here at the 1820 mark. This is basically just a range that you are currently in and sitting on. So what happens when you're in a range, Don? Well, if you're in a range, right, you would assume that price would be able to bounce between the support and the resistance because that's the areas you're in. You're in between this level to the left hand side here, and then you're in between this level. So within the range, you would assume that you'll see something like this happen where, you know, you just continue to bounce, right? And I get that. That's likely what I would want to see as well. That's just the general movement of a range, right? Once a range is formed. But the issue is we haven't really confirmed resistance yet. Like, the only thing that price did so far was close bullish at resistance. That does not confirm resistance. That doesn't confirm that we're going to reject off rip, right? We may come up, break the highs, and then reject, right? So how I see it is no matter where price goes, either bullish or bearish, you are likely going to be creating a top wick on price on the monthly. And if you look left, where could that top wick be placed at? Well, you look left here, you look at some of these potential zones or highs here, because that's all you have. All you have above the yellow lines are a bunch of rejection points, right? So you have that, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this over here, and maybe this. Like, I'll say the medium average would be between, which is right here. So I'll say 1925 to 1930 is kind of what you're looking at on gold here on the monthly. If price were to come up and create a top wick, just because looking left, this is where price sort of created top wicks in the past. Last time it was above these ranges, right? So again, let me just charge my headset. Yeah, I would assume that like price would be able to come up, tap those pink zones, or tap that yellow line that I have above the area in this green this green zone actually, right, before making that move down. Even if you were to drive down, obviously if you were to drive up, then you're just gonna go up, right? It will tap into the air into that area regardless. But I believe in order to drive down, right, it depends how far you drive down too, because if the bottom of the range is 1800, now I'm not saying, chat, we're gonna come down towards 1800, all right? So for those who are in like sell positions or buy positions and are getting triggered, don't get triggered, because this is just a monthly analysis of what could possibly happen if this were to tap, or it, you know, but I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, right? There's no confirmation of that happening just yet, but I believe if we were to be in a situation to drive down towards 1800, which is the bottom of the range, logically thinking, you would have to break the highs first, which is going to be that green zone there to the left that I have marked up before getting that push down to fill the range. All right, so don't worry. For those that are in buys, you know, do not stress. Your positions, I'm sure, are still valid. But again, if I understand that, you know, we are likely going to get a top wick at 2025, 2030s before making that move down towards the next support, we could then take advantage of the buys up, because the buys hasn't formed yet. So the part of the cycle we're in right now is the pullback fake out cycle on the daily. If that's part of if that's the cycle today or this month on gold, then there's a high chance that you can look for buys going up to retest those highs, just to create that top wick on the monthly before the monthly decides to either drive up or drive down, whatever it wants to do at that resistance. But I believe you will get that move up before getting that push down, right? So that's the part of the cycle you're in right now. So if that's the next step, then buys is what I'm looking for the monthly. I'm looking for buys still, right, towards 2020, 2025, 2030. Once it taps 2025, 2030, we can reevaluate. We can look to see at what could possibly happen next. But that's the next step in the monthly candles analysis. Now, the weekly, looking at the weekly, you have about a day and 9 hours left, and it looks like you are sitting in this range here from basically this area on price at 1970 to this area on price at 2020. That's the massive range that you're kind of sitting in right now. Now you have a day left, right? So what I'm asking myself is this enough volume for price to flip on the weekly in a day, in 10 hours? Will you have enough volume for that to happen? Well, you do have unemployment claims today in about 35 or 40 minutes here. 41 minutes. So will that affect price? Will that flip the weekly? I mean, the thing is, the weekly highs is at 1994, so it's gonna require some decent volume. Now, another thing as well is, even if we don't, even if we aren't able to come up and create a top wick at 1991, or even flip bullish at 1991, right? Because we're in this range here, so you would assume that like if it was Sunday, I would assume this would have happened. I'm pretty sure Sun's analysis I did say this is what I was expecting, right? Just because you're in a range. But worst case, if you close bearish here below the range this week by Friday, right, then that's okay as well. Because if you do close bearish like this, I would expect the next weekly candle low to create a top wick first before getting that push down. Because if you're breaking below this range here, where's your next liquidity zone, or where's your next zone area that they're looking to grab? You're looking at this area, or this area down here, right, the bottom of the range. But I'll say this would be the area you're looking at. So within this yellow box here, that's what, that's 1869, 1828, right? But I would assume you'll get a top wick first, because you have no top wicks within these candles here. So if you have no top wicks on these candles, you need to grab liquidity for driving down. And looking left, last time the past as well, you were in the same exact zone where before price made that move down here, right? You see how price started to make the move down from here. Look at where it tapped first. It had to tap into the resistance first at 2020, which is your liquidity zone, which is your decision zone, right? It came up to here, didn't tap it, came back down, created lows, which is what it's doing right now on price. Like currently it's doing the same exact thing as this. If it ends up closing respecting the support, you may come up, grab a top wick, and then again 2020 to 2025, you could possibly look for sales coming down to retest the lows. But you see how it's starting to line up with the monthly time frame now, right? Because the monthly time frame, we were initially bearish, but I mentioned how you need a top wick first at 2025, 2020. So if the weekly were to come up next week, right, before getting that push down, if you were able to break the highs, man, you know exactly where we're heading next, right? You break the highs here, you flip bearish on a weekly, this is what's going to happen. You're going to look to drive down towards 1860, 1840. Going back to the monthly analysis, it's around the same areas as well. 18, I think 20 or something like that, right? But it's in the same exact area. So again, this isn't like 100% going to happen, right? This is just an idea of what could happen and the next step in the typical market cycle that could form on price, and it could form on gold. So if you do close bearish this week, I would assume you'll come up next week to create a top wick to drive down for the weeks after, right? But again, the next step right now, since you don't have that liquidity, is looking for buys up to fill those ranges on the higher time frame, on the weekly, on the monthly, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. You know, this is just a weekly and monthly analysis. Again, it won't affect our smaller time frame ranges later on. Once we drop down to the 5, 15, 30, it won't affect that, but it's a good way to tell the story as to why we it's a good way to tell the story as to why fuck, it threw me off with that one. It's a good way to kind of like make the story make sense with all the time frames, right? Coming down from the weekly, monthly, all the way down to the 5, 15, 30. You know what I mean? So that's what I got going on here. So let's see, dropping down to daily, this is where things get a bit more interesting. I'll say let's see, so it looks like the daily time frame here is, I think we closed bearish yesterday. Yeah, we closed bearish yesterday at 1950, and I don't know if you closed below a zone, did you? Let me take a look here. I have a zone at 1939 here, which could be a key level as well today. Yeah, so going across here, I do have a zone sitting at 1939. So you didn't close below like this area. I believe below this area should be a great push down towards the next support at 1918, and then below 1939. But you haven't closed below yet, which means that you will likely see a tap into 1939, because that's a level that I'm looking left here. I'm seeing that every time that price did reject, it was able to reject off of 1939 minimum first, right? All the times where you actually drove back up to retest the highs, like you're looking at maybe like let me actually take a look here again. But yeah, I'm pretty sure every time I'm looking from this perspective though. I'm looking from the perspective of you were already above 39. I'm not looking at like this where you came up from 39. I'm looking at like where you were above 39 and you came back down, right? Because if this is the top of the range here at 2007, you're looking at price now from all the times where you drove down from 2007 down, right? And you're gonna see every time that I drove from 2007 down, it tapped 39, right? 2007, I guess that counts too. 2007 down, it tapped 39. Looking left, again, drove from these areas to the left, drove down towards 39. Here again, same thing, came down towards 39. So pretty straightforward today, right? We understand now this, and this might get confusing, but we understand now that the monthly and weekly, they were both bullish, but you need to close off, or you need to create a top wick on the monthly right before making that push down. The weekly time frame, just a little recap. The weekly time frame, I think the weekly was overall, yeah, it was in the same zone still. You're still expecting that top wick right at 1994, but looks like you have a day left, you might not do it. So that's where you're at with that. But the daily time frame, you have range coming down here. So I regardless, I think of wherever we go, no matter if we're bullish or if we're bearish today, you're gonna see a tap into 1940s, 1939s before doing anything else. So if that's what I'm expecting today on the daily, I can look for sells down towards 39.40. But keep in mind, 39.40 could get a little rough, could get a little tough because anything can happen there, especially with news here in about 30 minutes here. But yeah, 39 should be able to get tapped today. So I'm trying to see where I can take sells coming down to fill the range there. To drive down towards 39. So who's taking a bath on Zoom? What'd you say, Jack? Bro is having a bath on Zoom. Where's the rubber ducky? Someone's don't want over here living life, taking a bath while doing the analysis. All right. That's funny. I think he's in the hot tub actually. I don't think he's taking a bath. Yeah, I got you, Don Juan. Don't worry, I got you, bro. I got you. I'm not gonna let young Jack get you like that. I got you. Yeah, he's in the hot tub, bro. He's in the jacuzzi. All right, yeah. So yeah, the daily looks like we are bearish today. It looks like we do have room to come down towards 39 here. Even if you were to drive up today, right, you're gonna see 39 get tapped. Even if you were to drive down today past 39, you're gonna see 39 get tapped. So 39 is like your advantage point. That's it. The hard part in trading is identifying, or obviously understanding what that is in general. If you've been watching me for at least like 3 months, 4 months now, you would know every morning what I mean by advantage points, by decision points, decision levels. I think trading nowadays for me, it used to evolve more around support and resistance, but now it revolves more around advantage points and just decision levels, because these are levels. If you understand that these levels must get tapped in order to go in order to pick another direction, or in order to drive in whatever direction, right? You look for positions going up towards those areas, right? So right now, like I've already established that 1939 is a strong support, and that's my decision level. I'm gonna look for sells to come down towards 39. After 39 gets tapped, I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and see what we got going on next, right? But it might take a little longer. But 39, if we understand that's a decent level here, we can just take sells coming down, right? But yeah, so that's what I got going on the daily. I think the 4-hour time frame is pretty bearish right now as well. I think you also closed below the range, if I'm not wrong, here on the 4. Yeah, you closed below here, so that's great. Again, next support 39.40. It happens to line up with this area to the left over here, right? So that should be pretty straightforward on price. Let's see what else we got going on. I think that's about it. Yeah, so when it comes down to the small time frame, like the 5, 15, 30, 1 hour, when it comes down to this time frame, you sort of just want to, I'll say, pick a time frame. I know this might not make sense, but pick a time frame that looks the cleanest. So like in my case right now, off of my judgment, I'll say, since you do have news in about 30 minutes here, I would want to see how the 30-minute closes. I'll mark up the 30-minute for now. If it hits like 9 a.m. here and we have no trades by then, sure, I'll drop down to the 5:15. But I think for now the 30 minutes should be pretty good here because you do have news as well. So off rip, I see there's a support at 1942. But what's most recent here? Let's take a look. I think, yeah, I love what's going on right here as well. Wait, maybe I could use the 15. I need more data than that. That's not much. Yeah, 15 and 5 should be pretty good. I think 15 should be okay here. Yeah, so I have a level here at 1940. What is this chat? 1945.338. I'll say anything below there should be good to drive down towards. Let's take a look. So 1945, cool, right? You see how it's valid, respecting, cool. That's all I'm looking for. Cool. Yeah, perfect. So 1945, anything below 1945.338 should be good to drive down towards the next support. I think the next support is going to be sitting at 19. What was it again? On a 30. On a 30, it was a little higher. Okay, I'll stay right there. 39. What is this tail left over here? Yeah, right there should be good. 1940 should be pretty good. 40.077. Cool. Cool chat. So yeah, pretty straightforward today. I think a very similar trade to yesterday. I think if you close below, or I believe if you close below 1945, you should be able to come down towards 1940. Now here's the thing, man. You just had a 30 closure below the most recent support. Man, if there wasn't news here, because news will affect the way it moves and affect the way it drives, and whether or not it's gonna continue down with the price action or reject off of the fundamental news. But if there wasn't news here, I'll be in already. Because if you're expecting to tap 1940, right, you can just take sells coming down towards 40. But since there's news in the way, I don't want to be caught up in news. I don't want to be in a position where, you know, news just rejects price the opposite way, right? So I'm gonna wait until news comes out, obviously, at 8:30, and then 8:35, 8:40, we should be getting positions, all right? So just be on the lookout for that time. It's gonna be in about 35 minutes. But for the time being, I kind of just gotta sit here and watch price. If we had more time, maybe an hour in this would form, sure, but I don't want to be in position just with news, right? It's gonna be a little rough. I don't want to be in a position with news if I don't have to, right? Sometimes we are, just because we're holding a position still, but in this case, it doesn't make sense to enter a position during news. But yeah, you do have the comics open as well at 8:20, just a reminder. And then 8:30 news, and then I think that's all for the day. Or wait, no, you don't. You have one more speech going on today as well. I think later in the day, right? Yeah, Fed Chair Powell speaks at 2 p.m. So that's a long time. We'll be off by then. The only thing you gotta worry about today really is just this one folder called unemployment claims, and after that you should be good. But yeah, chat, that's kind of what I got going on today on price. So I mean, I guess all we gotta do really is just wait here and wait for price. Hopefully it doesn't drive to 1940 by 8:30. It might. So if it does though, that is not me missing the move. That is not you missing the move, because our plan is to take trades after 8:30. So if price drives down 1,000 pips here, don't say you missed the move. That wasn't your move to catch. If you really want to catch the move, you'll be in right now, right? But if you're telling yourself that you're waiting for news here, there's no such thing as missing the move, because your move hasn't been planned out yet. Your move hasn't played out yet. You know what I mean? So don't feel stressed if it does drive down here. Accept the fact that you may see this move drive down. You may see it drive down 50 pips right in front of your face, and you didn't catch a single pip out of it. But that's okay. As a trader, you must be okay with that, because there's things that's holding you back from taking a trade right now, which in my case is news. But yeah, pretty straightforward day. Anything below 1945 to come down towards 1940. Once it taps 1940, I'll come back to the drawing board. I'll redo my analysis for you guys, and then we'll figure out what's going to happen next, because I have no idea what's going to happen after 1940, right? But what I know is that 1940 is a decision zone. Once it taps 1940, it will have a decision to make on where it wants to head next, and you can kind of mark up your ranges, and maybe we might get buys later on. Maybe we might not even get the sells today. We might even get the buys after 9 a.m., right? But there won't be buys for me until after news minimum, or after 9 a.m. in about an hour, if we were to close above the range, right? But yeah, let's see how this forward candle closes here. Yeah, about 56 minutes, chat, and I guess we gotta just chill and